So guys, welcome to lesson 2 of module 1 of the Git version control system course. So in this lesson, we are going to look at the types of version control system. We have already looked at the definition of what a version control system is, but in this lesson, we are going to look at the types of the version control system. We have two types of version control system. The first one is the central version control system, while the other one is the distributed version control system. So basically, the central version control system has a single storage location or a central storage location. What that means is that if you are 1,000 developers working on a project, will be accessing the code from a central server because that is where all the code will be stored. Basically, we do not have a copy of this central server in our own machine. We have a central server where all the code is stored, and when I need to make the changes, then I need to access this central server. While on the distributed version control system, the developers who are working on the project will create a copy of the central server in their own machine. So the developers will have a copy of the central servers in their own machines. In other words, we'll have a multiple copy of the central server, which is kind of distributed among the developers. All right. So that is the difference between the central version control system and the distributed version control system. If we can compare these two, we can say that basically the distributed version control system is much better and is much advanced as compared to the central version control system. Why? Because imagine if you're working with a central version control system, if the server goes down or if the central disk becomes corrupted, it basically means that all the people who need to access that server won't be able to access that server. And if we lose the work from the central server, then basically we'll have lost the work. Everyone will have lost the work. But on a distributed version control system, since the work has been mirrored or has been replicated in the developer's machine, if we lose the central server, if we lose the work on the central server, we can simply update the central server with the work from the developer who has the latest version of the central server. Let me just illustrate this from with a drawing so that you can be able to understand better. So let me just pull up my paint here. And so in the central server, we have the central server here, all right? And then we have developers on this other side. So we have another developer there. Forgive me for my drawings. I'm not an artist, I'm a developer. So we have different developers. This is developer 1, this is developer 2, this is developer 3. We are accessing a central server and update the central server. So when this goes down, everything has gone down. While on the distributed server, we have something like this. So this is the central server, and then we have a copy of the data which is stored on the central server in our machine. So we have developer 1 here with his machine storing that data, developer 2. So this is developer 1 here. Then we have developer 2 here. Then we have, let us say, developer 3 here. So like this. So when I lose this server or when I lose the data on this server, then if developer 3 has the latest version of the code in the server, we can simply update the server and then we can simply pick it up from there. So guys, that is the major difference between the central version control system and the distributed version control system. And the one we'll be looking at is Git, which is a distributed version control system.